I'm sure most of you guys are already aware of this, but JT's Knife Life and myself have gotten together, and I let him know I would sharpen quite a few knives if he wanted to send them on. His package has arrived, so I'm fixing to get started on the first set. He's got 4 different models of the Benchmade Griptilian here. This one's in 440C, this one's in D2, 154cm, and CPM M4. I'm going to go ahead and start with the 440C blade. It says this is a safety blade for display purposes only. I have no idea how he got a hold of this guy. I've got it taped up though, just to keep it safe. You know, if I run it across the sharpening while I'm sharpening, if I hit the frame or something and do something to doink it up, you know, I've got most of it taped up, so I shouldn't add any additional scratches. Most of these already have a little bit of use on them. This one looks fairly brand new, as does the M4. There's just a little bit of wear on the pocket clip, so I'm gonna do my best to take care of his knives. They're not mine. I tend to do that when I'm sharpening other people's blades, unless they're, you know, Ganzo knives and I know they're using them at work. So we're going to start on the 440C. Along with these knives, he sent 4 others in D2. So I'm going to do the Griptilians first, then we'll transition into the D2 steel. I am going to sharpen every knife with the same stones. I'm going to start off with the silicon carbide, 240, 1K, and 2500. After that, I'm going to transition to the Naniwa 3K and the Shapton Pro 5K. When I'm done with those stones, we're going to go into my different levels of strop. I've got 2 Micron CBN emulsion, 1 Micron diamond, half a Micron diamond, and 0.25 diamond. So we'll run through all of those strops, and the edge should be finished when we're done with that. So to get things kicked off, these are the Gritomatic silicon carbide stones. I had the 6x2s, recently ordered these 8x3s. The 6x2s were just a little too small. I felt pretty cramped on them. These are full-size stones. You know, the same size as a normal Japanese water stone. 440C is not known to be too wear resistant, so this shouldn't take too long. I'm just going to dull the edge out. Cut off any edge that was there. I'm going to try to sharpen all these knives at the same angle, which is just my natural position. I've said in other videos it usually ends up about 15 degrees. It's not always a guarantee. I will measure them when I'm done and post it in the description. So make sure, if you're interested in that, you read the description boxes. One other thing, these aren't my knives, so I'm going to tend to stop and look more often than in my other videos, because I'm not trying to grind away an excess amount of material. I want to get just enough removed to get the knife sharp. On my own personal knives, I don't really care. But with other people's knives, again, I'm trying to take care of them as best I can. They've entrusted me with their blades, so I don't want to screw anything up. Already got a burr developed. All the way to the tip and all the way at the base. So we're going to flip over and do the other side. far as pressure goes, I'm using just the weight of my hand. You know, I may push down just a little more occasionally as I go through the stroke, but as a general rule of thumb, I try not to add additional pressure if it's not needed, which for 440C is really not needed. So JT sent me a Spyderco Pacific Salt for sharpening all these knives for him. I told him that wasn't necessary, that I'd do it for free, but he sent it anyway, which, thank you, sir. I greatly appreciate that. I will definitely give it a sharpening and make use of it. All right, that was quick. I've got a burr on both sides. I'm gonna do just a little bit of cleanup work, break some of it off, and we'll move on to the 1K. It feels like I got most of the burr. This is 1000 grit. Now these stones are brand new, fresh out of the box. They come pre-lapped and pre-flattened, so you don't have to mess with any of that stuff. My only concern with that is they feel too fine. They don't leave much aggression on the stones. Not a big deal. They cut, they shed grit, but the tactile feedback is not very good at first. It's after the first lapping with some silicon carbide, abrasive powder, that they really start to come alive for me. Pretty much got a burr across the whole edge. I'm assuming this knife was like a display piece in a knife store, which is pretty cool. The question is, did they heat treat it? In my opinion, sharpening it, it feels like any other 440C knife I've ever sharpened. I mean, that's to say, it doesn't feel sharp, doesn't feel soft or anything. So I've pretty much got a burr across the whole edge. I'm just gonna do a little bit to clean it up. But the steel doesn't feel unusual. Nothing standing out at me saying, hey, there's a problem here. So I'm going to assume it's heat treated. I guess JT's cut test will confirm that or rebuke it, whichever the case may be. 2500 grit. Had a little bit of a false start there. There was something on the stone. I had to rinse it off. Again, there was something on the stone. Maybe a little piece of paper towel or something. I love these silicon stones. They just move so quickly. I am pretty much done. I'm gonna do some cleanup and we'll move on to the water stones from Naniwa and Shapton. Naniwa Pro 3000 grit. Starting to take a nice polish already. I got a spot right in the tip. It's not quite getting the polish. Damn. It's teasing me. There we go. I got it. All right, ready to move on. This is the Shapton Pro 5000 grit. One of my favorite stones right here. This is where I tend to leave most of my edges. 5K and then stropping. I've got, of course, plenty of stones that go higher in grit, but I just find that any steel 5000 grit seems to be a real sweet spot. Gives you a nice bright luster, and the edge, as far as I can tell, every edge I've put on it, save a couple, have not been, you know, so super polished that you can't cut into a tomato skin or anything like, you know, anything like that. The stone is super hard. It doesn't give you a whole ton of feedback unless you go over or under your angle. Then it screams at you. Tells you, you fucked up. But the polish it leaves is fantastic. Bright luster. See, if you heard that, I went too far down, so it started yelling. I can actually feel that 5K raised up from the stone. Well, it's interesting, this 440C is not, I mean, it's taking a bright polish, but it's not like a mirror. It's kind of dull. That's interesting. I wonder if it is heat treated. got an edge, I'll come back on the strops. Now, I talked about these strops when I first bought them. They came from chef knives to go. This is just a metal base, and all of the strops have magnets on the back of them. And just plop right on. Bovine leather. It's on the smooth side. When I applied the paste and materials to these strops, it was a real pain in the butt. The CBN emulsion was real easy. It was liquid. It absorbed into the leather and took to it real easily. The diamond paste were a different story altogether. I had to squirt it onto the leather, let it dry a little bit, and then smear it like a toothpaste almost across the whole surface, and then take a plastic putty knife and scrape off the excess. I don't know how well it's worked, but that's the way I did it. I need a little bit of extra clearance here. My knuckles are hitting. I made mention on the last knife that I stropped with these that I could not tell a difference after going through each strop versus stropping on just my white compound from Stropman.com. So we are going to use these on every one of these knives, and hopefully doing so will give me an idea of the benefit or detriment, or if there's any benefit at all going through this whole regimen. It is, it's not like it's unenjoyable, but this is a lot of stuff to keep up with. All right, so that was 2 micron CBN emulsion. This is 1 micron diamond paste. And I am keeping all of these strops in their plastic baggies to try to avoid grit contamination and cross-contamination and all that fun stuff. And my finger has a little bit of emulsion on it, so let me try to get that off, because I don't want to contaminate this strop with it. Sorry about that. Now what I'm doing is just 15 passes on each strop. It's just an arbitrary number. I didn't put much thought into it. That's just what felt right. If I do 16 on one, 18 on another, it's not that big a deal. The main goal here is just to strop the knife. I normally do about 10 passes on white compound and I'm done. So this is, in my opinion, or in my normal use, this is overkill. Not that there's anything wrong with it, again. I just never felt the need to strop this long or to go this fine. I've already lost count. We'll say that was 8. One thing I did notice about using the diamond paste for stropping, the edge definitely felt like it had more of a bite to it. I don't know if that's just my mind messing with me, or if it truly is doing something to the edge to give it a little more toothiness, but it definitely feels like it's more aggressive. It wants to bite into material a little bit more than just stropping on white compound. Now this is a 0.5 micron, that last one was 1 micron. So we went from 2 micron to 1 micron to 0.5, and the last one is 0.25. And I've got a hump here in the leather. This side's smooth. Nope, it's got a hump too. Hopefully that won't mess anything up. There's definitely a ridge right there. And I've lost count again. Like, as I was saying, it doesn't really matter. If any of you guys have used this stuff, please leave in the comments how you applied it to the leather. I'm still not entirely sure I did it right. I know when I was done, I felt like I wasted a ton of diamond paste just because of all the stuff that I scraped off the leather. I don't know how it's supposed to be done. I tried applying it while it was wet and smearing it all as evenly as possible, but that just did not turn out well. This is the last one, 0.25 micron. I'm going to try to keep count. That is it. We are all done with the stropping and the sharpening stones. I'm going to remove the tape, put the thumb studs back on. We'll come back here and do a cut test. Here she is, all back together. Like I said, JT had some use marks on this guy, so I didn't want to add anything additional to it. Definitely sharp. I think he'll appreciate that. And this 440C took a little bit of a polish, but it is just not crystal clear. I'm not real sure what the deal is with that. There's still a lot of haziness in it, even after the stropping. which is odd. That is very odd. I'll bring you guys down and let you take a look at this polish. So you can see some of that haziness. You have to forgive me, my hands are shaking like a leaf. Well, just regarding that haziness, I mean, it's definitely got a luster to it. It's just not as bright as I'm used to seeing on some 440C knives. Good night. I'm shaking like a leaf. JT, when you get this guy back, definitely check the tightness on those thumb studs. I tightened them down pretty good with my Weehaw drivers, but I didn't go, you know, cranking down on it because I'm not sure if you're going to ever remove them. There is Loctite on these. It came that way from Benchmade. It is blue Loctite, so be aware of that. But definitely check these and make sure that they're the way you want them. Alrighty, guys, that is one guy down. We got, what is it, 7 more to go, and 3 of those are Griptilians. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below. Appreciate you watching. Have a good one.